Recorded.
So good morning and welcome to Geoff Wade, who works at Go Gateshead. Now, Geoff was fundamental in helping us create the Return to Swimming Lessons survey. So first of all, I have to say a big thank you to Geoff for all the hard work in creating the survey. But what Geoff has also done is done an awful lot of analysis of the results that he got at Go Gateshead, and also we've had from the 47,000 responses. But before we get into that, Geoff, it's been a great weekend. You're sat there, looks like beautiful sunshine behind you. What did you get up to this weekend?
I'm a bit of a open water swimming person, right. So luckily I live right on the coast and I can just run out of my back garden and in my shorts and straight into the sea and swim. So it's been nice when it's sunny, but ultimately the sun doesn't make a lot of difference to the North Sea temperature. So every day I'm in there at some point in the day, and working from home makes that a lot easier actually. So that's been one of the benefits of this situation.
Yeah, I would agree. I think my exercise regime's increased because I'm not driving like I used to drive. So that time is now being spent hopefully on my bike or running. But it's great. Most of us are remaining physically active. But let's get to the survey. And we had a quick chat about the things that you found from this. And one of the things that really resonated with me, because I suppose what I've been trying to do is get people to realise that putting the customer's view at the heart of decision making is really important when we're planning how we come out of COVID. And you talked about the comments that were in question 18, and we got quite a lot of people actually putting effort into putting into 18. So what was your view? What sort of things did you find out when you had a look at Go Gateshead?
Yeah, the comments were really interesting because I view the comments, if people actually bother to write a comment in and rather not just tick the boxes on the other questions, they're generally going to be your biggest promoters or your biggest detractors. It's either sort of really positive comments or your complaints and the people who have had negative opinions of you. So it's really important to understand those comments. What was good to see was that there was a lot of positive, and the fact that actually having sent out the survey and that we were listening to customers' views and trying to understand what their feelings were, that really came across in the comments. The other side of it, on the negative side, if you like, but more so the negative with regards to COVID, was that feeling that I think we're all aware of, that some people, have this risk-averse nature with COVID and are really, really worried about it. So, some people saying that they just won't consider coming back until they're sure that it's safe, regardless of what the government says, what we say, what our guidance is. It's going to be their decision, not based on what the government says. So I think that it was really interesting to look at those comments and understand that, so you can get a flavour of the feel.
Absolutely, and it was quite interesting because because we asked a question at the beginning around was somebody at more risk from COVID exposure, and actually those two things tied together. The more risk of COVID exposure, the more negative the comment when they did put the comment. I think there was a direct relationship to that, and as part of the people who have done the survey, they've had access to their results. They can see that question 18. But when we come to doing the full report, we're going to work with a company called My Customer, who looks at the open text, and they can get sentiments from that open text. So it'll be really interesting to see what that looks like when we put that together for the final report. So, but thank you for picking up on that. That's the bit that really excites me about these types of things, when people make the effort to give you information.
Yeah, and so that's the bit that you get to see from just the stats from the report. And the headline stats say one thing, but those people who are writing those comments probably have the most diverse range of opinions at either end of the spectrum. So if you view that most other people are somewhere in the middle, they're the ones that are going to be either really promoting you or potentially causing you problems if you don't get it right when you reopen.
Yeah, absolutely. So the bits that's really important to me, though, is to notice that I think there's opportunity in here as well. It's going to be tough reopening schools. It's going to be reduced capacities. We're going to have some challenges. But there was some really interesting stuff that came out of doing intensive courses or crash courses for swimming lessons approaching the summer holidays. So how have you approached looking at the opportunity?
The opportunity, I suppose this question was something that was one of the main things that I wanted to get from the survey in the first place, because my view, even a few months ago, was that when we're finally allowed to reopen, if everybody's been in lockdown for so many months, the summer period really is going to be a period where they just want to relax and not be into a weekly regime of a swimming lesson on a Monday at 4 o'clock. As it's gone on, and we've perhaps all it's gone on longer than we all perhaps thought it would, and the full repercussions of not being able to go on holiday and what have you. The purpose of an intensive course, actually, it will solve a lot of the problems in that having 3 or 4 months off from swimming, children are going to come back and not be at the same ability level that they were. So having that intensive program would hopefully boost them back up to where they were prior to COVID. It means that you can set aside a week, you go swimming the same time for a week, but then it's out of the way and you're not doing that. The other thing is, because it's not the weekly program, it's bespoke. We can set it up how it works based on the guidance and based on how the centres are opening. So we don't have to be constrained by what the normal weekly program was previously. So it gives a lot more flexibility. So if that means reduced ratios in the lessons to manage that can be done. And basically the number of people who said that they were interested in a crash course was sort of quite high. We're talking 55-60% of all the respondents. So if you view that across your whole program, that's a lot more than you would perhaps normally expect, especially for operators that run 50 weeks a year throughout the summer. You take up on summer crash courses, since those sort of 50-week things came in, has dropped off a lot. So having 50+% of customers who would potentially be willing to do a crash course, that's a huge number. For a operation, that's a huge number of people that probably in a normal summer crash course you would have quite minimal numbers, but you can do something a lot bigger and look at how it's done.
Absolutely. And I think we also have to consider, people won't be going away on holiday probably this year. People are going to have more time available to them. And I think the really interesting for me, I think it was 73% of parents felt that their children shouldn't be reassessed. They should actually stay at the level they were at, very protective of the level their children had achieved. And of course, the intensive stuff actually allows us to do that. It allows us to keep them at that level effectively when swimming lessons resume as in the normal place. So I think actually using the insight in the way you have has been really interesting. There was a bit of a challenge, I thought, when I read around spectating, and that need to be confident they could still watch their child take part in activity before they made the decision to come back to lessons. And I guess that will resonate with a lot of organisations that just don't have spectating capacity.
Yeah, and I think that was the biggest challenge for me when the Swim England guidance was launched. It wasn't so much the water space that was the issue, it was how do you manage the changing and the spectators. And if you've got, certainly in a leisure centre programme where you might have multiple lessons running concurrently, it's just not going to be feasible within the spectator space that you've got to allow every parent to watch. So we needed to understand how that would impact. And I guess, as you would expect, those parents with younger children in the sort of small pool classes who are of a lower ability, they were the ones who sort of critically they had to see their children. As you got higher up the age groups and the ability levels, it was less of an issue. So I suppose we could have guessed that, but at least the survey backs that up and suggests that if we do have to reduce spectator capacity, then we prioritise those lower ability classes so that those parents can watch. And then for the other parents, whether it's we've got somewhere else in the building that they can go and a screen could potentially be set up in some places, or whether it's just a case of, sorry, you're going to have to go and wait in your car and have some arrangement where we call them back if their child needs them. In this situation, that's going to be the only way to do it. Having said that, as we move on, and we're already hearing sort of over the past few days that the relaxing of the 2 metre rule likely to come in, so that changes the goalposts again. And going back to the crash courses, what we have in the summer months might be very different from the restrictions that we have come September. So again, it gives them more time to plan and sort of see how things develop for September. Because my critical thing is, I don't want to duplicate workload. I don't want to create a whole new weekly program just for COVID, and then 2 months down the line, all the restrictions are eased so that we could run a normal program. Then we've got to do everything again. If we can set the program in September, which meets the restrictions for COVID, but allows us to then grow and change without making fundamental changes to how the program works. And that's, for me, that's the best way to do it.
Absolutely, and as you and I both know, the programming is the most important part on this. The ability to give parents opportunity, thinking about siblings, thinking about other things that go on within the building, the constrictions around car parking and changing, etc. And I think all of this will actually make us better operators as a result, because if we can get through this with the restrictions we've got, I think we can make a real difference going forward.
Absolutely, and I'm looking at it as a positive. I'd already got plans within Gateshead to improve the quality of the service, which we'd implemented at one centre, but really we were just waiting to train up enough swimming teachers to deliver it at the other centres. What this COVID situation gives us in September, because we still expect to be at a lower overall, I can implement those changes with the number of teachers I've got and the teachers that are currently being trained up. Have it in place, ready for the ramping up as and when we're able to. So it allows me to do that. So that's sort of reducing the ratios and extending some of the lesson time. So it is, on that respect, hopefully a positive can come out of it.
Absolutely. And I think on that note, that's where we're going to call a halt. So Geoff, thank you for your insight. Thank you for your support and that whole driving force that you've given to swimming lessons for us. So Geoff, thank you for your time, and we'll catch up soon. All right.